Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday evening, and it's another Layabouts Rugby Round Table. Tonight, our panel are going to be discussing what it's going to be playing rugby post-COVID. Obviously, we don't know what it look like yet, but we're going to have a good guess, and we're going to get the players' perspective of what that will look like, hopefully in a few weeks or months' time. So let's welcome tonight's panel. So we've got Gareth Tully from Reading RFC. We have Lou Gray from Supermarine RFC and Jack Rogers from Layabouts. How are you, everyone? You well?
All good, thank you.
Good, thank you very much.
Excellent. Yeah, slight delay. So if you want to get questions in or raise some points, then definitely put them in the comments, and then we'll definitely take them and discuss them, and we can go through them and all sorts. Any other points of business? No. So let's sort of crack on. How were your seasons last season before everything got locked down? How was it, Gareth, at Reading RFC?
Yeah, it was actually quite a successful year. We were really pushing to get into our playoff, finish second in the league, and then play against the other team in the other league, Southern Counties South. We're in Southern Counties North. We were pretty confident of getting to that playoff, and then actually winning and getting promoted. And then obviously COVID happened, and then the RFU's magic computer came out with its results, and we ended up not getting promoted, which was has left a very bitter taste in the mouth, but it's also G'd the boys up for the coming season to put some wrongs right and get that automatic promotion next year.
We're going to come back on that magic computer because we're not. No one's actually spoken about that yet. But once we go around the table, I'm going to bring that up and we can have a. We've done 6. This is the 6th one of these, and no one sort of mentioned what results and what the computer did for them. So we'll come back to that one. Lou, everything good down at Supermarine?
Well, we chose to move from Championship to the South. Just before we went into that wonderful cup and plate.
Lou, we can't hear you. Oh, there we go.
Can you now?
Yeah, slightly better.
Yeah, fine. Basically, we were bottom of the South Championship, which is one below the Prem. And what happened was we get split, the North and the South Championship, top 4 and bottom 4, and we continue to play off to see who gets relegated. Fortunately, some people gave some walkovers, which is instant relegation. But again, the magical world of the RFU decided to null and void it, and we were just on our winning ways. So actually, we don't know where we stand right now, and they've only brought out the men's fixtures. They've left the women's till now because they're restructuring again. So we're improving. Don't think we would have been relegated, but we're just waiting on tenterhooks to know if we've gone down or we're staying or whatever they're doing. So, but other than that, progress for a team. We did really well coming together last year, so not so bad.
So you don't know whether you've been relegated or promoted?
Not a clue. They said that the cup and the plate were null and void, but you're like, well, what are you going to do? Because I think they're expanding the championship. We still don't know. They've got so many ideas, like making it 10 because they're putting extra women's into the Prem now. So some teams are going to drop out of the Prem. They might make the championship 10 teams in each set. So it's still waiting. We got a message from them saying we knew you were expecting to get your fixtures out at the same time as the men's into the league structure, but actually it's not ready yet. So we don't know when we're getting it. But our current date is in December to start. So you know.
Wow. Okay. Did not know that. But, yeah, it seems strange that the men's fixtures are out and the men's dates are out, but nothing else, nothing for the women's game yet.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't know that.
There are a few.
we'll chat about them. Jack, Layabouts, you're a very social team, just like us down at Regal Decker.
Yep.
How was your season?
So yeah, it was pretty good. So the season before last, we just sort of naturally lost a load of players. It's just around that sort of cycle. Load of new players in. So I actually joined 2 seasons ago, and just worked my way up quite quickly. But so last season was it was a proper sort of cliched building season. At the point where we were losing to a few of the top teams by a point, 3 points, and just getting a bit frustrated with that. But actually, league restructured this season coming up, and we're looking to just keep building. We've kept, I think we've lost 1 player through retirement over summer. So we're looking pretty good. We got a fair few new players in. Players great, and I think due to lockdown, everyone's pretty keen. Like for pretty much the lowest standard of rugby you can get, we're doing 2 fitness sessions a week, which is unheard of. And everyone just wants to get back now. I think
like too many.
Believe me, it is.
Fitness session, it's too many. We don't start training until Saturday morning. So yeah, we'll see how those fitness sessions go.
It's that right temperature as well for training, isn't it?
Take a walk to the pub. yeah. Pub weather, pub garden weather.
Absolutely.
We were talking sort of off air. Gareth, you've been getting good numbers down at training so far. Is that right? Is Gareth there?
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry, you were cutting. Yeah. So obviously, with the conditions and everything, we've had to really think about how we're going to do it, because we do have quite a large player base across the 3 men's senior teams that we have. So we decided to split. Forwards come down on a Tuesday night, backs come down on a Thursday, and then we split the evening into 2-hour slot sessions. So about 7:15 to 8:45, 8 o'clock till 9. And then obviously, they're assigned a bubble. So yeah, averaging probably about 40 a night for the forwards on a Tuesday, and then about 30 a night on a Thursday for the backs. So yeah, it's been good. It's been a challenge. I am pretty much sick and tired of bubbles. I hate them now because I'm constantly having to redo them, and yeah, I don't ever want to see a bubble in my life again. Yeah, it's been good. The boys have reacted well to it, considering, because obviously we started on the 9th of July. And obviously the first few sessions was just running. We wanted to get sort of like a lay of the land before we decided to bring any equipment in. So I think it was only the last week that Ben, our head coach, has decided to bring balls in and start doing some handling. So, but the boys have bought in, so that's the important thing. They haven't moaned too much. So if they're not moaning, then I'm happy.
That's good. I think we have bubbles for a little while longer. We're still at stage B of the RFU's 5-point plan. I don't think that's going to change for a while either. But hopefully it won't be too long, and we can change in mass groups and actually play some kind of rugby against with each other and against each other. Have you started training, Luke?
Yeah. Is this better now? Can you hear me better?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah, we started training about a month ago. So we've employed the RFU rules. So groups of 6. We don't have the masses like Gareth does, but we're pretty much having to make sure that only 24 to 26 people are training. And then you have the coaches on top. So it's strange. Obviously, the balls are now back in play, so we can do some passing. I think a lot of people want to get their aggression out and hit a bag, but it's mainly fitness. And, we're starting to bring in all the other aspects. And it's going to be well, until we all know really when we're starting. It's like, how long can fitness go on for before we lose a bit of interest anyway? But we're pretty much fully booked every week at the moment. And the girls are just looking forward to getting back on. I think they've missed 7 seasons for the social. We're normally down at Reading Abbey, so that's always a good one. But yeah, I think it has actually improved. We've got some new players, and I think because we're basically back at basics, it's inviting more people to give it a go, because we can't do straight into ruck drills, mauling drills, and God knows when they'll do the mauling again, and into tackling. So it's actually learning the basics and the techniques in the right way. So it's been good on one side. It's kind of an opportunity. We've all healed from all our war wounds from last season. But now it's just fitness, and you can tell everyone loves it, especially the forwards. They absolutely love and adore fitness. So it's been,
especially in this weather.
it's so hot. It was really humid last night, so everyone was dying when I said we're doing Malcolm's at the end of our training session. So, but they're putting in the effort. It's just frustrating not knowing where we stand right now.
No, I guess it's a bit difficult when you don't know. No one knows when the season's going to happen and things like that. So it's hard to sort of plan anything, I guess, and prepare. Is there? We spoke about this last week, but do you think there's a possibility that people might peak too early, especially if we don't play until sort of December, January time, Jack?
Whether it's, I think it obviously depends what type of training you're doing. If you're training for, like the way the Prem teams are already training, actually, if they get put back, I think they physically might peak. Whereas, I mean, the sort of training that we're doing at our level is pretty basic anyway. And actually, that's just going to improve people's fitness outside of rugby. So we're not too worried about that. And actually, the majority of the people who are there sort of know that we're not going to be back into rugby too soon. They're there more for a bit of, I know that Boris keeps talking about, fighting obesity for the NHS and things like that. And it's a big thing at the moment, isn't it? Just to get fit after lockdown. Everyone, even people not going to the office every day, they're sort of realizing that actually they're racking up days where they're just sat doing nothing. But I do think in terms of that, like Lou said, people will peak pretty quickly in terms of boredom. There's only so much you can do. We've been doing it for weeks now, and it's just like, we're going to run the shuttle. It's a 20 meter, 40 meter, 50 meter shuttle. And already, some of the boys are saying, when can we play touch? When can we do this? And actually, that's where it's getting a bit frustrating that there's nothing coming down. Because certainly, any position in the club, it would be nice to be able to say, actually, it should be here or it should be then. But at the moment, it's just like, who knows? We could be able to play touch next week. It might not be until September, October, November. Obviously, actually back to rugby, God knows when.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Gareth, have you had any players say that they're not going to come back?
Yeah, it's obviously something that we're concerned about, because obviously if it does end up being sort of end of the year next year, then you've got to expect to lose guys, because there's only so much you can do, like Jack pointed out, before they start losing interest. They're all paying their subs, their membership fees to play rugby, not to run around on a field or just do a little passing drill, or depending on what the guideline says at that time. So it is something that is concerned. It's a question I get asked pretty much daily, either from talking to the lads or messages or whatever. Have you heard anything? What do you think? So it's scary, and obviously, looking at the poll that you guys sent out, and with the responses, 20, what was it? 1 in 20 people said already that they're not going to come back, and then 1 in 10, I think it was, you said that they were thinking about not coming back. So that's that's really dangerous, because you get clubs all different sizes, and we're lucky that we have a good senior side. We have a vets team, 3 men's senior team. Sorry, so our numbers are pretty good. But if you've got a team that's just a one-off first team, or you've got a couple of teams, it's going to be really difficult for them clubs to survive, because most of them live off the membership money. That's everyone's main bread and butter, and then obviously people buying drinks and food over the bar, which you can't even get into. So just going on what Jack said, I think the RFU I don't even know what they're doing, to be honest with you. I think all they're doing is laying everybody off so that the big dogs at the top don't have to take a pay cut, because it's pathetic, to be honest with you. I'm not a great football fan, but the FA, come out and pressure the government into it, and they go all okay to start playing their competitive matches. What was it, last weekend?
Well, this is
we got the RFU. Just what was it? They fined Plymouth 20 grand.
Yeah.
On its own,
Nice
scrounging
one,
around for money. So it's sad. It's sad because you think at this time that that they should be understanding that grassroots is their bread and butter, but they've literally just, as far as I'm concerned, stuck two fingers up at grassroots. All they've been concerned about is obviously getting the Premiership back so they can start making some money. But it's bad. It is bad.
I think on that as well, when you touched on the FA, I've seen quite a lot of other sports governing bodies come out and say this is when you'll be back to training. So we've got a lot of players who have taken up rugby recently and they've come from other sports. That's one thing we're worried about, because actually we've probably got, so we're a single team side, we've probably got 10 lads who could go back to football. If they say you can play competitive football in September, but you can't play competitive rugby until, September 2021, honestly, those boys will just leave, and they'll, as much as they want to play rugby, and they might come back. A few of them might come back. Actually, once they've joined a football club, it's then difficult to change it up, isn't it? But there's going to be competition. I think even things like cricket, you can play cricket now. So actually, there will be boys who say, I'd rather just go and play competitive sport. I don't care what it is. It's sport. It's getting out. It's having a beer afterwards. Or you can go and run some fitness and pretend to play rugby, which is pretty much what we're doing. So I think it's almost that I personally feel like they've done us a bit of a disservice in terms of the fact that the people at the top of the clubs are trying to retain these players, and that's it's a massive thing in terms of just getting the players is the most difficult bit. So once you've got them, you just need to keep them. Yeah. But actually, it's they're just opening up the competition. It's almost like even if they hadn't wanted to say anything, I feel like as soon as the FA came out, because obviously football's probably the biggest sort of competitor, isn't it? And sort of responded to that saying, well, even if they just said, we don't know when it's going to be, but we are working on it, or just something to say, don't give up, keep working, keep training. We'll be out with something soon. And I know they've obviously released the fixtures, haven't they? 2 weeks ago. But even that, it's a bit of a provisional. Will this happen? Who knows? So it's
Well, what I find amusing is, grassroots leads to the Premiership. That's the point, and international. So letting it go isn't really good. And I used to play in Western Australia, and they're actually playing right now. They're back into league season, women's and men's. The women's kick off tomorrow. But during the first part of COVID, they lost a lot of the women's section and quite a few of the men's, because they could go play AFL or another sport. Netball's huge over there as well. So they're kind of rebuilding, but at least they've started and they're playing contact, and it's every week at the moment. So I don't understand how they can be so far ahead of even us over here in the UK, when actually they haven't had one incident yet of COVID. That's WA, to be fair. But it's kind of like, there's always going to be a risk whenever we go back in any sport anyway, because of how it passes from person to person. So at some point you either bring in the testing, and I mean, reading through what you sent over to us all, when you're talking about minimizing like the impact of a scrum, we play rugby union for a reason. So, it's 15 players. We have forwards and backs. We're not rugby league, and appreciate that sport as well. But, and we're not tag, we're not touch. We are full contact union players. And that the scrum and the lineouts make the biggest impact to the game. So, I can't see any of their ideas right now actually making it better for us to return. Personally, it'll be nice just to play a bit of touch at training so people can feel like they're engaging. So, they've got to sort it out, and they've got to do it quite quickly, because I think last year they got rid of our main point of contact in the region, who was really good. I mean, she would tell us all off if we did something wrong, but as soon as they cleared out the women's section, we basically have 4 contacts, and we don't really know who they are. And it's made it really difficult. And I think you're right, Gareth, around keeping their salaries at the top, but they've cleared out everyone who was actually of use and cared about everybody below Prem. So it's just made it more difficult moving forward.
But then that also applies to men's champ rugby, doesn't it? You know, they've completely cut the funding for that. And actually, when you look at the number, I was reading an article the other day about, you know, where players played before they've gone into the academies. You know, people like Joe Launchbury have come through Nat 2, Nat 1, up to championship, and they've moved up. It's not. I think these days, because of the academies, it's less of a route, but it is still a route. You know, there's still loads of players going up that way, and it has to be. I think for some of the grassroots guys who might not get picked up in academy straight away, a lot of these boys don't get noticed when they're 15. A lot of them will just work up to Nat 1 or something when they're 20, 21, and eventually rise through. So it does seem to be that way a little bit, certainly in terms of the sort of slashing funding and just seeing what happens. But it's a bit risky, really, isn't it?
The thing is, they were slashing funding before COVID, so
yeah,
it's what are you up to, RFU?
Look, we're going to be honest,
quite a few
man,
points
the RFU
there, isn't there?
For years. The COVID is just probably fact.
Yeah.
There's quite a few points there, isn't there? There's. It's true. On Jack's point on football, there was a study done that in the average amount of time of players in contact is 14 seconds, 30 minutes. So you can understand why that's come back. Unfortunately, had there been a proper tracking and trace system set out weeks ago by the government, we may actually be back playing sooner rather than later. But because that isn't there, and because our sport is so contact heavy, there is no plan. Like we're almost sort of working 6 months behind. But had that, I don't want to sound political, but had that happened 6 months ago or 3 months ago, we might have been in a better situation where a sport like ours could return at the grassroots level. If you've got 14 seconds of contact in a 90-minute football game, there's plenty. You've got plenty of room to run around and be okay. But when ours is bang, 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 and it's 70 minutes of contact in an 80-minute game, especially if you're a forward, that's a lot of contact, and without the sort of tracing systems, it's going to be difficult.
I do find it interesting as well. Part of me thinks that they could just build it up. So obviously, we're hearing about the level of or the time in contact in rugby union versus football, but what we're not hearing is the level of contact in something like touch. Because actually, I know that if we played now a session of touch, you disinfected every time. So, so say if we played now as an hour of touch, you could say, well, every 5 minutes we're having a break. Everyone just disinfect your hands, switch ball, clean ball, disinfect your tags, whatever you're doing. And then you start again. And actually, it's almost like trying to run before you can walk. Realistically, rugby union won't happen just yet, but it's almost like they're just aiming completely at the top. Whereas, I feel like it would actually help the clubs more if they were working out, well, actually, when can they go in the gym? When can they play touch? Rather than just, when are the fixtures starting? When can they play full rugby? Because it doesn't work like that anyway. Teams will need to play some form of non-contact rugby before they can play contact rugby. It's just going to be, it won't be a case of them saying, right, we've not had a touch sort of period, but actually now you can play full contact. So it's a bit of a, they're sort of missing out that middle step in a way, aren't they?
You've come up with a really good idea there with obviously the touch and about, taking the breaks and everything. And we're just at grassroots. Yet there's people sat at the RFU making a lot of money that haven't even thought about something like that. Yeah. I just generally have no idea what they're doing. I really don't. I just think they
I mean-
sit in offices docking away.
That's the worst thing, isn't it?
Doing,
Yeah, exactly.
counting the money.
We're not being paid for this.
Yeah, they're not being transparent enough with
Yeah.
No,
everyone
we're not.
involved below the prem, and it just creates a bit of havoc
No,
because you
we
try
pay-
and
we
also
pay
start
for it.
sponsors.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're paying for them to do nothing really
I
at
mean,
the moment.
I mean, we've sort of already said as a club that as soon as they allow touch rugby in groups
Thing is,
of
they've got,
20 or 30, we'll play. So
Yeah.
it's a bit, even if we, even if we contact the local clubs and say, send 10 lads, send 20 lads, we'll play a game of touch rugby. It doesn't. I think probably what I'm trying to get at is the fact that they're sort of missing the point of people don't just want full rugby back instantly. We'd love that. Absolutely, but it's not going to happen. If we could play a local derby of like 10-a-side touch next week, that would be amazing at this point. If you said that during a normal season, it would be, why are we doing that? But because we've had nothing for months, that would be awesome. So
I definitely agree. So if
they've put
tomorrow
their A, B, C, D, whatever on.
Sorry, Gareth. If there was an announcement tomorrow that we could play some sort of variant of the game, do you think people would take it up? Lou?
Yeah, I would. I think that would be. Yeah, we would. Any opportunity, I think, is a good opportunity right now.
Yeah.
And I'm still meant to be throwing a tournament in August, but it might just be a party because it seems you can do more in pubs than you can on a rugby pitch at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think any additional stuff we can do, even if it is a touch game, we have a touch team at Supermarines as well. We'd probably just take them on in a challenge, and go do it around the houses. Just because it's good fitness, it's good practice. It is more backs typically for running lines, but it's giving us an opportunity to actually do what is deemed a little bit of contact. And I think, just something more because, we are getting a bit bored of what we can do at training. But you just we are taking it bit by bit, and most people are following the guidelines. But it's just this lack of transparency of actually this is the next step. We'll all know and recognize it. It might change based on any outbreaks or anything, but where's a step-by-step guide to how we're getting back? Because they've set these dates. None of us really believe them. So why don't you come up with a plan, which kind of like what the government were trying to do as well, but come up with a plan of step-by-step. And if anything happens, and obviously we all understand that it might change, but there's no transparency from them, and it's really difficult to plan for. So, yeah.
But I think even if you look at that, the roadmap, the return to rugby roadmap, it's not actually that for someone trying to plan a pre-season and where we're trying to get, it's not that helpful. Even saying that we can train in larger groups. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that you can train with 30 people, 100 people? Because actually at the moment we're still only training in groups of 6.
Yeah.
Does that mean we can play touch? Actually it would have been much easier if they'd said this level is small drills, this level is full team drills, run throughs, this level is touch where you can actually there's light contact, and then you can move on. Whereas actually at the moment they've sort of just, it's almost like the answer is out there, but it's an answer that no one can really decipher, isn't it?
And if you get it wrong, they'll find out and they'll fine you. So,
well, and this is the problem. It's very vague, and then you try and assume what you can do. That's the one thing. The one thing you can't do is assume anything at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve.
Sorry, Gareth.
Oh, I was saying that Steve Granger needs to go on holiday, so he needs his money. So, that's the important thing. Generally is. I mean, like I hark back to it. They've got rid of all the community coaches, the ones that actually care. Now we're left with all the business people, the people that don't really have that much of an interest in rugby. They just want to get their check, and that's it for them. And that's why, like you say, with the roadmap, it's so vague, it's unbelievable. But obviously, like Lou said, you've got no actual blueprint, and then if you do something wrong, they'll quite happily come down on you, like with a fine or whatever they want to do. They're talking about, obviously it's the club's insurance. I mean, they're just a bunch of jokers.
Some clubs have put their mass training sessions
it's
on
sad
Twitter.
Because, you know, we all love this game. We all love the community. You know, we all love going to a club. And, you know, we've got a governing body that's supposed to look after you, and they're not doing anything, really. They put the roadmap out and thought, oh, there we go. That'll keep them quiet for a few months, you know. And it's just rubbish, isn't it? And to be honest with you, once we come out of this, and, you know, we will, and that's the important thing, we will come out of this. They all need to take a real good, hard look at themselves, and I hope pretty much all of them resign. And as you get people in there that care.
Well, Steve Granger has agreed to come on this panel at some point in the next few weeks and do a Q&A session with the rugby public. We're just working on a date at the moment, but there will be a Thursday evening in the next, I would say, the next month or so, and he's gonna come and answer as many questions in an hour as we can.
Quite happily.
We might need 2 hours.
Yeah.
If we get you on, Gareth, we're going to need 2 hours, I think.
I think, Sean, you could have a night off that.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
As long as he doesn't do
it's a difficult one,
we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, he is going to come and he says he's going to be as honest and as possible. But yeah, we haven't agreed a date yet, but we're working on the date. But he has said he will come and do it and come on and answer as many questions as possible. So, you know, save all your questions, and we'll answer them in a couple of weeks' time with him here live on the Rugby Round Table. See, cheap plug. So if we were going to play tomorrow, obviously we don't know when rugby's coming back. If we were going to play tomorrow, do you have fears or anxieties about playing and possibly catching something or anything like that? It
depends what we're catching.
What do you reckon, Leigh?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Catch a rugby ball. Yeah,
that's the hardest thing.
Yeah. I think most of my team, to be fair, aren't worried about taking to the rugby pitch and tackling somebody or scrumming down. There'll be the odd player who's a bit anxious, but it's about managing that. I think ready to play, probably not right now. We need to hit a few tackle bags and maybe have a friendly. But I think if it was in the next few weeks, and so yeah, I don't perceive our team to have any issues going back. I think most of, like, we're in touch with obviously a lot of rugby clubs. You know, a lot of us share info. No one's going to risk any other team if they do have one player gets COVID. And I think as long as there's a bit of flexibility around that, and that's the same to RFU, if you do the fixtures, if a team gets COVID case, okay, so they can postpone a fixture. You know, I think it's kind of like actually
common sense.
Take the anxiety. Yeah, it's common sense, and then you just get the whole team tested because that's what you do. And you leave it for the 2 weeks. I think people have had enough now from lockdown and all the mental health stuff which has come with it. They really just want to get back playing and get through it. And if it happens, we'll manage it as we go, as best we can. And I think that's all we can truly do. And any player who feels uncomfortable won't be forced to play, for instance. It's, you know, we understand. Be ready when you're ready. So.
Gareth, would you have any fears about playing if it was tomorrow?
No, I don't think so. I think the boys would quite happily all play tomorrow. You know, you might, like to say, you might have a couple that have reservations. Obviously, totally understandable. You know, no one will ever be pushed into playing, but I would say 95% of them will happily play tomorrow. Happily. But it's
And
not
Jack,
going to happen.
any of the Leigh lads?
Funnily enough, we had this conversation last night actually at a training session. We said, you know, if we had a game on Saturday, because obviously, so Wednesday we normally train once a week on a Wednesday, and then we play on a Saturday. So Wednesday's the day where we sort of look at the squad and say, how are we doing? Are we doing well for numbers, or are we struggling? And we basically said last night, if we had a game on Saturday, how would we feel? And actually, we would be massively oversubscribed for the team. So again, we're a single team squad, and we've got about 45 players on the books, most of whom play. So we've got about 15 who play every week, and that the rest might play 1 or 2 games a season. But I guarantee most of those would be putting their hands up for selection. The only thing we've been saying, and it's the same as Lou said, is we've been making sure that we're sort of over-telling people who perhaps might be vulnerable or slightly reserved about it, just don't train. Like, there's no big thing with that. We've been sending out training plans to people who perhaps don't want to train as a team but still want to be fit. I think it's just going to be a no pressure environment. The slight issue I've got with it is obviously it's going to be a bit of a confusing time for the people organising the clubs. What happens if someone has a cough on a Friday night? And that's almost the sort of stuff where I feel like there's not going to be loads of information, and especially because now there's not the community coaches and things like that to actually. I mean, we used to just text ours. If we had any problems, it'd be a quick text, and it would just be like, yeah, that's fine. Whereas who are we going to talk to? Are there going to be strict instructions to just cancel the game, do this, do that? And obviously, I think the main point is everyone just wants to be safe, don't they? If anyone actually said, I think if you look at it as, do you want to play rugby on Saturday? The answer is yes. If you said, do you want to, there's a chance you're going to catch COVID on Saturday, the answer is no. So it's just trying to put the two together in a safe and sensible way. Because actually, nobody wants to risk it. If there's a good chance you're going to get it, we're not playing, basically. But I think that's the other problem, is actually no one knows quite what the risk is at the moment. If we go and play 80 minutes, what does that mean in terms of chances of picking it up? Because it could mean nothing, It could, or it could mean it's almost definitely going to happen. I mean, especially so our leagues have been slightly restructured for next season in terms of geographical. So our league has been completely split east and west. So it's also a little bit less travel, which is quite nice. So that that you're actually playing teams from sort of 10, 20 minutes away rather than teams across the county. So there's definitely a bit of a sort of easing the mind with that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think ours is the same. I don't know. I haven't spoken to the fit secretary. I think our basement barrel league is very much been split into the A3 corridor, which is 5 minutes away rather than an hour away. Yeah. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat, and we've got about 10 minutes left. So if you've got any questions or points you want to raise and that you want us to try and discuss, then definitely do. I have got one from Sean, which is me. Does rugby need its own track and trace system?
I think that's a good. There's one way to solve it.
Yeah.
For me.
So.
I think a lot of what you see now anyway
could it be something like anyway. Pitch?
I mean,
yeah, for sure. But something like everyone's got a Pitch Hero website. Could there be some sort of like Pitch Hero track and trace system where you log in, as you would register to say that you're available to play, and that sort of becomes a track and trace type deal? I don't know. Just sort of throwing it out there.
Mm.
It's a difficult one. I think it's more our social lives which create the track and trace.
I think if it's run properly, then
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I guess they probably wouldn't want to put any money into it. It's probably the issue.
As long as it's run properly.
Yeah.
Who's going to run the actual thing? I think it's, for me, obviously, so lower level. I think it would actually just work best. So we most of the clubs keep in touch on Twitter, and some of us have a group WhatsApp and things like that anyway, some of the local clubs, because we share players every now and then. So actually, I think as long as you're being honest and just, but like I said, it's having the advice of what to do if that does happen. But then actually, we all play for the love of the game. None of us are being paid, well, I was going to say huge money, but none of us are being paid at all. So we would all be honest about it, but then, as long as you've got that trust of those clubs, can't all be on multi-million-pound deals.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Lovely.
It'd be nice.
No, track and trace.
Gareth, you were trying to make a point in there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lou. Gareth was.
Yeah, I was just saying. Obviously, just on the back of what Jack said about, obviously with who's going to run it, because just leaving it to a club member or something like that, you're opening yourself up for mistakes to be made and then potential, backlash from that within the club. So then do you go, right, somebody from the RFU needs to come down and do it? Or do you go, will the RFU maybe do something like, right, send someone down from your club and we'll train them how to do it properly, make sure there's no if, buts or maybes. So I think it'd be a good thing, if it keeps obviously everybody's fears at bay and it gives an answer and you can act quickly if you end up with any issues. But again, it's trusting the RFU to do something, and even the government to a point, because let's all be honest, they have no idea what they're doing anyway. How can you go from, oh yeah, masks ain't going to do nothing, and then it's mandatory? So I give up, really. I was unfortunate. I actually got it pretty early in stages, and it was I was laid for a couple of weeks because I'm one of the high risk guys. I've got asthma and I've had some previous health issues. It wasn't pleasant, but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just the question. It's the you're getting nothing from nobody, and that's the problem. And I think maybe just comes down to common sense and a bit of responsibility on yourself. And it might be a good thing because half the lads here don't shower afterwards, so having mandatory make might be a good thing.
Nix has put in the comments, and I've just had a look, that the Pitch Hero do have a track and trace system.
What?
So,
what, rugby?
Nix, thanks for that. Pitch Hero have a track and trace system through web app, and I'm just having a look on the website now. They're hosting webinars. I don't know when they are hosting webinars, but it says they're hosting webinars to teach people how it. And it says it will track and record attendance, send additional information such as COVID instructions, identify participation and contact records by individual. I don't know, but if then something's better than nothing. So go and take a look at Pitch Hero's website, and there might be something like that we can.
Yeah, we don't use Pitch Hero anymore.
Speed up the.
So we'll have to.
I guess on the track and trace as well, there's a couple of options, aren't there? It's whether you do that as a club, which actually we're sort of doing without doing it in a fancy way. I know who's been to every session. I've got their contact details. So actually, if anyone came down with it, first thing I do would be stick a text out to everyone and say, get tested or don't train, do that, whatever the actual advice is. Or whether you're sort of talking about trying to go full scale and actually having, whether that's in the league, the region, I mean, nationally would just be a nightmare, but or whether that's actually so that you can contact all of the other clubs quickly, because it could even be that if one club regionally had it, there would just be that league would shut down for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But who knows?
Who knows? That is a question. So our final question we ask everybody this, is when are we going to be when are we going to play rugby again? When are we going to play full contact again? Lou, make a guess.
Making a best guess, I'm gonna go January.
Everyone's going into a sweepstake. January, that's
January.
my guess.
I reckon January.
I think it all depends if we have a second wave. I think if we don't have a second wave, October still could work. I think if we have a second wave, it will be started next season. I think if it's a second wave, it will just be like grassroots is off the table.
Do you think the game dies then?
Well, I think with
If we
that,
miss
some
the
clubs
season?
would. I think some clubs would definitely go under. But obviously, so that's working on the fact that if there's a second wave, that's probably going to be until November or so. So then you've got a few months of coming out of that anyway. You've got at least 2 or 3 months after that. Realistically, there's no point starting our season in March, April, is there? You would just sort of skip over and start, or you go to play in the summer. But again, who
Ripped
knows?
apart knees.
Yeah, there you go. But certainly with that, some clubs would have to go under.
And finally, definitely. And finally, Gareth, when do you think
Yeah,
we'll
I
be
was just
back
saying, I think
full time?
maybe with
Sorry, we lost that answer.
sorry, mate, you
Give us that one.
you broke up there.
You
Yeah, I was
when
just
do you
gonna
think we'll
say
be
that,
back playing full time?
I think probably yeah. Your head sort of hopes before the end of the year, or your heart, sorry, your hopes, and then your head probably says the new year. I'm hopeful that once the Premiership starts on the 14th of August, that if they come out of that and there's not a lot of confirmed cases and stuff like that, then maybe the RFU can push it and say, look, obviously, these guys are playing contact. I know it's obviously the top level, but if they're doing contact and there aren't many cases or cases at all, then you can hopefully that they will push to go right. Then the grassroots can come back. But like Jack said, if it goes to the new year, then there's going to be a lot of teams in trouble, because trying to convince somebody to hold on till January by just doing what they're doing now or doing even touch is going to be a hard sell.
And you miss out on it's Christmas time, and then you're going into the worst part of the season for weather. So
yeah,
it'll be back to back to finish the season on time before county and all of that starts. So.
Definitely, 100% agree. It's going to be a long road ahead, but I want to thank you, Gareth, Lou, and Jack for joining us tonight. Thank you all for watching. This will be on YouTube in about an hour or so. This will be a podcast tomorrow morning. Next week, we are talking about mental health in the grassroots game. We've got some really good guests lined up as well to chat through all that. And so join us at 6:30 next Thursday. And don't forget to follow us on social media and all sorts and all that malarkey. And thanks again, Gareth, Lou, and Jack. And we'll see you all again soon. Cheers.
Thanks.
thank you very much.
Thank you.